What's up, everybody? I'm whooping long COVID. For those of you who've seen some of my other videos, I'm really struggling with the effects of long COVID. It's basically ruined my life. So I'm doing a lot of treatment modalities, and my goal is to document what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and what results I'm getting from it. I am not a doctor. I'm not purporting to be a doctor, and I'm not necessarily recommending that you do any of this stuff. I think if you're suffering from long COVID, your best bet is to educate yourself as much as you possibly can, and then try things and double down on the things that work, and maybe stay away from the things that don't work as well. I'm trying everything, and I have finding something similar, that some things work better than others. Today we're going to talk a little bit about nervous system optimization. And this isn't meant to be a class on neuroscience. You certainly can do deep dives into this, but at a very high level, humans are very fortunate. We have two nervous systems. We have a sympathetic and a parasympathetic nervous system. These are often referred to as the kind of fight versus flight. Technically, that's a bit of a misnomer. It's more like fight versus rest. And at any point in time, one of those systems tends to be activated at a higher level than the other. And the way that it works is your sympathetic nervous system is the fight side of it. You're going to activate that when you're doing something, physical or dangerous or scary or whatever. Whereas your parasympathetic is more like your rest and digest, and you need that to kind of recover and get the rest that your body needs to recuperate and rejuvenate. It's not a binary switch. It's not like one's on and the other's off. It's more like a slider bar, where at any point in time, one of them might be more activated than the other. And so, for example, if I'm being chased by a tiger, my sympathetic system is fully activated all the way, to the highest possible extent. My heart's beating super fast, my breathing is increased, I'm hyper focused, and I'm, gonna fight the tiger, versus being chased by a dog. Scary, but not as scary as being chased by a tiger. Your sympathetic system will be activated, but not to as great of extent, versus being chased by, a chicken. It's sort of annoying, and you'll activate a little bit, but you're not gonna freak out like you would if you were being chased by a tiger. And so the parasympathetic, on the other hand, you might be sort of just relaxed a little bit, versus I'm completely chill and I'm ready to go to sleep, and I'm completely calm and relaxed. And what you want is a healthy bit of both. If your sympathetic system is constantly activated, that's the equivalent of every time you go from stoplight to stoplight, you just slam down on the gas as hard as you possibly can and race up to the next light and then jam on the brakes as hard as you can. You can do that, but it's not really good for the car. It overtaxes it. And then when you need to slam down on the gas, there's sort of less there for you to be able to tap into. The challenge with long COVID is that you spend a lot of time with your sympathetic system fully activated. And so it's sort of the equivalent of you're driving around all day with the gas pedal pushed all the way down. This has a number of ramifications. One is you never really get the rest and recuperation that you need. And then more importantly, you're kind of overtaxing your resources. The third aspect of this is, realistically, we talk about sympathetic versus parasympathetic, but there's a third dimension to this, and that third dimension is complete immobilization. And that is when you are completely maxed out of sympathetic capabilities. Your body just goes into stasis. You become immobilized. And a way of thinking about this might be like if you're in a foxhole in a war, and the bombs are coming. Your sympathetic system is pretty activated, and you're ready. But at some point in time, you get so freaked out that you just freeze and you go catatonic. And so what happens with long COVID is your sympathetic system is activated all the time. And so then little stressors, which in a normal world wouldn't really impact you that much, can drive you into immobilization. And this is what I found for myself, is there are days when I just become catatonic. I can't do anything. I'm just stuck in bed and I'm just frozen, and it sucks. And so one of the things that I've been trying to do in terms of combating this is really look at treatment modalities that move me back towards parasympathetic to kind of reduce my overemphasis on being in a sympathetic state constantly. And there are a number of modalities that can do that, and we'll talk about the different things that I am doing. This runs the gamut from meditation to vagus nerve stimulation and other things. But ideally, for me, I spend a lot of time during the day trying to figure out what can I do to move myself from sympathetic to parasympathetic. And with that, what I'm doing is getting myself into a state of mind where I'm more likely to have recovery. Now, I talked about this earlier. For me, while there's lots of dimensions and nuance to long COVID and long COVID treatments, I'm categorizing them into two major buckets. So bucket one is symptom management. If I have a headache, I can take a painkiller. Headache goes away. That's fine. It helps me get through the day, but it doesn't solve the problem, which is how do I get to the root cause? And so root cause is how do I decrease the viral load in my body so it has less of an impact on my day-to-day. Nervous system optimization for me kind of fits into both categories. It's one of the few things that does, because on the symptomatic side, if I'm immobilized, to try to get out of that and get to a state of mind where I can just get things done and operate as a human being, that's kind of symptom management. But I also believe that the more time that you can spend in parasympathetic, the more your body is working to recovery and it's not burning resources unnecessarily. So one of my goals is, what can I do on a daily basis to move more towards sympathetic? And I'll talk about one of those here, and we'll go into a deeper dive on some of these other things in future videos. But one of the biggest things that I believe can be done to move you towards parasympathetic is meditation. And meditation is a bitch. I've been trying to meditate for about 10 years with various degrees of success. And what I have found is that there are lots of different types of meditation. There's transcendental, there's guided, there's Ayurvedic, there's just different methods of meditating. And I've tried a lot of them. And what I found is that the transcendental does not work for me at all. Other people swear by it, but it doesn't work for me. So I think the first step is to number one, try to find the approach that works for you. And for me, when I was really leaning in on this, what I found was helpful is to use guided meditation apps. The one that I use is Insight Timer. There's a ton that are out there, Calm and other things. I'm not prescriptive about if you need help to try to figure out how to do this, which one to use. What I like about Insight Timer is it's got a whole bunch of different types of meditations, and it has a bunch of different lengths. So if I have 5 minutes versus 20 minutes versus an hour, I can make use of the time that I've got. And so the first thing that I did was just kept trying different things to see which one worked for me. I'm now at the stage where I can kind of self-trigger. I don't need the assistance from an app, but some of the things that I found were helpful for me going through it is relinquishing the need to be perfect. It's fucking hard to sit in a room by yourself and think of nothing. It's just hard. And so, for me, what I tend to do is I really focus on breath, diaphragmatic breathing, breathing from your gut. And inevitably my mind is going to wander, and that's fine. I just acknowledge when it is wandering, I acknowledge that it's wandering, and then I turn my focus back to my breath and I just keep focusing on that. I don't pretend to be the best meditator in the world or a yogi. And as I mentioned before, I think it's different for everybody, what works well and what works doesn't. For me, I try to grab just minutes when I'm not doing anything. I'm sitting at the airport, waiting for a plane. I can get 10 minutes of meditation in. Before I go to bed or first thing when I wake up in the morning. People do things like set intentions when they meditate. I don't do that. I don't know that you should or you should not. But I do believe that part of your nervous system optimization is this ability to manage the calming of your own mind. The flip side of this is also true, and I'll talk about this when I talk about breath work, is the ability to manipulate consciously the nervous system state that you are in. So, for example, if you're about to go out on stage and play a show, you want to amp up. You want to get your sympathetic system engaged, and breath work is probably the easiest way to do that. Conversely, if you're super stressed out and you're trying to get down out of that into more of a parasympathetic state, breath work works great as well. So key takeaways from this session are understanding the difference between sympathetic dominant versus parasympathetic dominant versus immobilization, and the need to try to manage that to get a sense of balance, and then also to match your neural state to the situation in which you find yourself. So with that, I'm Whoopin' Long COVID. See you guys later.